sim, we are gonna look at movies coming from video games, and as usual, usually movies from video games are either very bad and very irritating, or very bad but very funny bad, and everybody's thinking Street Fighter right now. So this is what we're gonna talk about today, and I can't wait to start. So, what do you know?
So before we go, I just have some quick news. I'm going to go really short on this. We have the Kotor reveal at the PlayStation State of Play. If you guys have seen our Facebook, you've seen the meme I made. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, it's kind of strange because the original one came out on Xbox and PC, and the next one, and this one, the remake, is going to be coming out on PlayStation as a timed exclusive. So I think that's a little bit strange. I've stated before that I'm not a big fan of timed exclusives on especially third-party games, but I accept it when a game was originally on a system as kind of like a way of saying thank you to the fans, like with Final Fantasy Remake. I did think a year was too long. It should have been a month, maybe two at max. But this one, I'm kind of like, yeah, it should have been Xbox if you were going to go exclusive. But yeah, I don't know. I guess PlayStation paid out big money for it. But yeah, you guys have heard of this, yeah?
Thanks to your meme.
Yeah, thanks to my meme. All right. Yeah, any opinions on that, or did you play the original?
Never had the Xbox, so no.
It was on PC.
Yeah, again, too old.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the new one, it's one of BioWare's early games, and it's considered one of their best. So I will probably definitely be checking this out when it comes out. After that, Epic Games and Mike Macintosh, Apple, they finally have finished their lawsuit, and Epic wins.
The first part.
Yeah, the first parts. And Epic has won, so now they are going to be able to charge people. So now Apple cannot have a monopoly on payment methods. So now on Android, Apple, all those things, they're going to have to allow alternative payments. And so that's going to work out well for Epic. And yeah, any opinions on that?
I don't think it's worked out that great at conclusion for Epic, because I saw that Epic actually lost most of the decisions on that. That was the only one they won. So they're actually appealing it. It says that the Apple Store might not be appealing it, but the Epic Games have appealed against some of the other decisions made in that, about them proving that Apple was running a monopoly. That was all that part got dismissed, basically saying you can't prove it, even though this company is acting like a monopoly and everybody knows they're a monopoly. You haven't provided enough sufficient proof.
Ah, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that part, but yeah, so it looks like alternate payment methods on Apple, and I guess it was a lose-lose or a win-lose-win-lose. I don't know. It looks like everybody kind of came out. Everybody hates a compromise, so that's how it came out. After that, Xbox is apparently supporting vaccinations. So yeah, I think this is really cool. A video game company came out and they said, hey, guess what, guys? We support vaccinations, and we think you, as the cool gamers that you are, should get yourself vaccinated. So we've talked about games and politics before, but I do think that right now, especially in the U.S., I'm not sure about other countries. I don't know. Maybe you guys can talk about your countries respectively, but in the U.S., it's becoming it's gone beyond political now. It's just tribal, and people are just attacking each other over it. And I don't think that's a good way to get people vaccinated, is to call them names and tell them they're idiots and that they need to do this and when So I don't think that's the right way to do it. But I think Xbox coming out and being like, hey, we think vaccines are good. We think you should do it. We're not calling you names. We just think it's a good idea. I think that's probably going to be a lot more successful in swaying people. Is just kind of like, the whole like, hey, it's cool, you should do it. If you don't, that's fine. But hey, you know what? We like it. I think that'll be a little bit more effective. But what do you guys think?
That's a good idea.
I think you have a bigger anti-vax movement in the States. I think you generally tend to have more people complaining about MMR and all sorts of different jabs throughout the last few decades that haven't really existed. I mean, there are still some people, but I don't think there's a larger following as much in most European countries that I know of.
Yeah, I think Australia has a pretty big anti-vax thing from what I've heard. But I know like that's part of the reason is I know between the UK and the US, they kind of have different policies, which is why a lot of people, when they have like cancer treatments, will go to the UK. Because from what I've heard, the way it's done in the UK is if a new medical procedure or medication comes out, they basically give people a waiver form and they say, this is experimental. You can try it, but we can't guarantee it's going to work. So you basically sign a waiver saying that you're willing to try this, but if something goes wrong, we can't be held liable for it because it is still experimental. Whereas in the US, they say we are not going to approve of it until it's been thoroughly tested. And so for that reason, a lot of people in the US, it's a lot harder to get things approved in the US because you can't, so like most vaccines will not be released until 10 years after their development because they won't let you experiment with yourself. They will tell you, we won't release it until it's safe. Whereas I guess in the UK, they come out and say, you can try it, but we're not going to guarantee that it's going to work. But that's on you. You're welcome to try. And so maybe that's part of the reason why the US has more of an anti-vax movement. It's just because people are like, wait, these usually take 10 years. Why did this take 1 year? That's suspicious to me. That's weird. So I think that's contributed to it. But there's definitely a lot of that tribalism and Trumpism and that sort of thing in there as well. That's being part of the problem. But I like the idea that, a company like this just came out and said, yeah, we think it's a good idea. That's that, go ahead and give it a shot. Give it a shot. Hey, no pun intended. But yeah, anything else on that one? And we got one last piece of news after that.
Go ahead.
All right, the last piece of news. God of War recently was also shown at the State of Play or whatever it's called for the US, for the PlayStation thing. And they released, and people loved it. It was great. It had a great release, except for two things that apparently some people are complaining over. The first one being Thor is too fat. So yeah, a lot of people got kind of offended by that. They said, Thor should have 6 packs and be awesome. And it's kind of odd to me that people would complain about that, given that Fat Thor in Avengers was so popular and so well loved, that people are complaining about this. Apparently the in-game lore for it is because I guess they have statues of Thor and he looks a lot more svelte and muscular. And I guess the in-game lore is that he's been kind of sitting on his laurels for a while. He's basically defeated everybody he has to, and he's kind of gotten fat and drunk and lazy. And also Thor in lore and official, in the mythology, definitely was a big drinker. So he's got a bit of a dad bod here. He's not even like fat. He looks like those kind of like strongman competitions, where the guys kind of got a bit of a gut, but they're still pretty muscular. So yeah, he definitely looks like he could still kick some ass, but apparently people are not thrilled by that. And then the other is, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Angerboda. In mythology, she is the mate of Loki. She is the last giantess. And in this game, they revealed her at the end of the trailer, and apparently a lot of people are very unhappy about this because they're like, this is Norse mythology. Why is there a black girl in it? Personally, I think that this is, because they've said that this is the end of the Norse mythology. This is going to be the Ragnarok is the end of it. So moving forward, we're probably going to be moving into different mythologies. So I think this is a way to kind of connect with mythology more on a whole. So I think maybe she'll help them expand maybe into Egyptian mythology or maybe some African mythology or something like that. So I think in the game, the idea is that, there's not just the one pantheon, they're all the pantheons and they're intermixed and stuff like that, so you have the Egyptian gods and the Greek gods and they kind of intermingle. So I think that she's kind of a show that the bridge is, they're moving away from this Eurocentric mythology and they're gonna be moving somewhere else. But a lot of people apparently are not happy because it is a character from Norse mythology and she does not look Norse. So what's your take on these kind of what people have been saying here? Fat Thor and Black Angerboda. I don't know how to pronounce her name. She's a Jotun. So
don't yell at me, but never played God of War.
I played the original one.
So,
I've
yeah,
said before, I'm not a
so
huge fan of people adapting mythology because I feel like in this one, in the original, I didn't like it because I felt like, oh yeah, we're going to create this character and he's going to kill all the Greek gods. And I'm like, to me, it just felt arrogant to think like I could create a character that's better than these classical, like a guy that could defeat Zeus, like my guy is better than this thousands years of mythology. I wasn't a big fan of that. So I was never a huge fan of God of War either, but it's been doing pretty well. So
honestly, yeah, I don't care if Thor is fat. I mean, he's a
I don't
good
care
worker.
either. And
He
I think
eats
it
a
makes
lot.
sense.
Yeah,
He still looks like he could kill somebody pretty easily.
yeah.
Like
And
he
if
doesn't
she's
look.
black, I mean, if she's black, who cares? Like in the Adventure movie, I think the giants were blue, so blue, black, yellow.
Well, and that's the thing too, is she is one of those giants, and she is in the lore, she's a shapeshifter, similar to Loki, I think. So this
So
might not even be her true form. This might just be the form she takes to kind of
that's
blend
Mystique.
in.
No, wait,
Kind of like
wrong
Mystique. Yeah, exactly.
wrong
Like Mystique.
franchise.
Exactly. So yeah, this might not even be her true form. This just might be the form that she takes to kind of, get in with Atreus and Kratos and not, be too suspicious. I mean, if she showed up as just, she's a giantess, but she's not huge. So if she showed up as this 20-foot tall blue woman, they might take notice of that. She shows up at this girl, they're kind of like, there's a person over there, whatever. So yeah, who knows?
Saying haters gonna hate. So
Yeah.
let them.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I don't get the fat Thor thing at all, given how Thor was popular. What about you, Phil?
I never. I mean, my Norse mythology is nowhere near as good as my Greco-Roman mythology. But I was just researching it. Apparently, only appears once in the Poetic Edda, and is a giantess in Jotunheim.
Yeah, she just shows up just once, and she's a giantess. So she's not even human, like Kratos is. So
I don't think it matters. Whatever. I think woke culture. I don't know. People just moaning for moaning's sake. Or I'm online. I can say something, and I'm sure 1,000 other people are going to comment. And sometimes I think it hits the stage where it's so ridiculous. It can only be people trying to have fun at how much of a complaint they can rise about an irrelevant issue of like, oh, you know what's pretty fun? Thor's a bit fat. Oh, I don't really like that Thor being fat. Let's see how many people we can get riled up about it. Can we make, really send a message to those game devs that we don't like Thor being fat? It's like, come on, whatever.
Sometimes I don't even think people are offended. I think people just want to... Yeah. They want to be offended. And they're like, they see Fat Thor and they're like, ha ha ha, Fat Thor. Oh, no, wait. Like I could complain about this, and I think in some cases it's gotten to the point where people are feeling like I feel like everybody else complains so much. I feel like I need to complain to be part of the group, and I need to find something to complain about so that I can feel like I'm included. And I think that kind of happens sometimes. So I think people find things to complain about so they can feel like I'm part of the culture. But
it'd be interesting if they are stepping away from Norse. It will be interesting where they go.
Yeah, and I mean the last one did great. So I am
unless they break timeline, it's going to be a weird place to go to because you're looking at what end of Norse mythology. There's not a whole load of mythological systems that kind of run after that. So unless they kind of somehow link it back to something that's already existing before then, I don't know.
Well, that's one of the things that's one of the fan theories is that apparently Loki, not Loki, Atreus' mother had visions of the future, so they said that she could see the future. But then I guess Atreus is supposed to be Loki, but there are things in the past that are linked to this, or like for instance, Loki is the father of what's his name, Jormander, or the giant serpent. He's the father of the serpent, but the serpent's in the first game. But Loki is supposed to be Atreus. So how could this child be the father of this giant snake that already exists?
Jormungand.
Yeah. But then the snake identifies him. The snake knows who he is. So some people think that there's a bit of wonky time here where there's a bit of moving back and forth. So it's not a straight line. So there might be some kind of, going back into the past where Kratos, because I guess they say that there's pictures of him in the future, or there's pictures of him where he's missing an eye. So they're thinking that he's going to go back into the past, become Odin, basically, and then go evil. So Kratos, yeah. So there's a lot of fan theories as to why and how this is going to work. Nobody knows for sure, but I guess we're going to have to play the game and find out. All right, and with that, it is the end of the day. We went a little bit longer today, but as far as the show concerned, I'm sorry for that. But as far as the podcast is concerned, that actually might be a good thing because we might need to edit out some of the audio for the videos, or else you guys are just going to be listening to random audio with no video. So I think it kind of works out in that sense. Thank you for watching, everybody, and coming to see us. I do have some unfortunate news. Crian is not going to be coming back today. So he will be back at some later date. But obviously he's not coming back today. No, I'm just kidding there, messing with your head. I just wanted to see if you guys had any reaction. Antoine's eyes kind of went a little big. I don't think Phil heard what I said. So, yeah, so that's it for today. Any closing statements, guys?
No, maybe next time we can do the contrary, like movies which went so good that they created video games, like Mad Max.
Sure. Yeah, we can go the opposite way. Video games that were inspired by movies. Sounds like a great idea. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Final comments, Uwe Boll, we salute you. You are a heathen, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where would we be without you? Thank you for all those great drinking games. And with that, see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can make sure that you're here on time. And bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.